Hello everyone, welcome back to my next video. Today we're going to meet Gavio, and he is in this, what I think is a gorgeous Astro minivan here in the middle of the desert in Parker, Arizona, just right after the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, RTR. And so we'll start with the basic question. Gavio, how did you end up here in an Astro minivan in the middle of the desert?
Okay, that's a killer question. So I've been living in this particular van since the beginning of June, and I originally started out building it as a traveling van. That was my idea. And I have some health issues that make me very chemically sensitive and sensitive to noise and so on. And having my own space around me is really the best way I can travel. And I need to be able to keep my fresh foods and just a lot of really particular things. And so I built the van to be able to travel. And at the time I was living in a house, although I had lived in a van before that. And so over the period of about 4 years, I concocted the idea that I wanted to build a really complete, compact four-wheel drive camper van that would take me to the places that I really wanted to go. And I settled on the Astro because, honestly, it's the cheap way into a four-wheel drive van.
It is, by far.
Yeah, by far, exactly. And on top of that, they're reliable, they're reasonably powerful, they're a pretty good package, and they're cheap to maintain. So, yeah. And so then I just pecked away at it bit by bit. At the time that I started, I was very ill. I have a chronic condition, and it had really flared up. So I would just work on it in little bits, and then as I got better and the van got more complete, it's like we kind of helped each other along. It gave me something that was like sort of therapy, and it really helped me keep going. And I just had the idea that I wanted everything. I wanted, a full, complete camper, and
In a tiny little package.
yes, yeah.
And that's the trick.
Yeah, it is. And then it became clear that I needed to move on from the Bay Area where I was living, and I realized that when I had a great relationship with my landlords, but it was going to end, and when it ended, I was not going to look for another house there. And so then I was really glad that I'd built this really great camping van that I could move into.
So you're going to go full time now. You kind of burned your bridge there. You don't have a place to go back to.
That's true. I don't have a home there.
And it sounds like your health really improves out here.
It does.
And I find that for most people I talk to, even if without a chronic condition, that it really improves.
Yeah, it's amazing how much difference the peace and the quiet and the reduced stimulation and all of that. It just it really helps to settle the nervous system.
Yes.
My sleep improves. Everything improves. And
right.
Yeah, it's been a relief being out here.
And we tend to be happier more and smile more.
Yes.
And boy, is there better therapy than that?
No, I don't think there is. And on top of that, I have the winters were miserable for me in the Bay Area. I can't function without the sun, and being able to just come down here, I'm so glad. I'm like this whole winter in the Bay Area, there's been rain and clouds and fog and gray and whatever, and I've had like one day of rain. I'm like, just color me happy,
Yeah. Yeah, the sun really impacts me too. I find myself, even in the desert where you get sun most of the time, you get a couple, 3 days of sun, and I just feel it. It impacts me just right away. And then going somewhere where it rains a lot, I just couldn't. That's not a possibility.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was living in the North Bay Area for 25 years, off and on, except for a couple periods where I was on the road. And it never felt like home, and that was one of the big reasons that it didn't. Except that I kept forging these great connections because I know all these people there who I really love and adore. So then I just kept ending up going back there, and I still do. It's like a sort of a homing thing, even though it isn't home. I go back there and visit periodically and do work there and so on. So but I didn't have to be there in the winter.
Right. And so one of the questions I ask nearly everyone is, how are you supporting yourself on the road?
I have a disability, and I work part-time. I'm a designer and have been for like 20 years. I've been self-employed as a designer. And
Graphic design?
I've done a variety of things, but mostly for the last, 10 years, it's been, are you ready for this? buildings and interiors. So, yeah.
So interior
I have,
designer, essentially.
yeah, interior designer, and different kinds of spaces, and whatever. But yeah, and I have a favorable relationship with buildings. It's really, like I'm not in my van because I'm allergic to buildings. I'm just in my van because it's what I'm doing now, and in a lot of ways it's reflected in my build, I suppose, because I made it kind of like a tiny building, I suppose. Um, but anyway, yeah. So that's what I do, and it's what I'm about, and in some ways, this build was just kind of an opportunity to really, to just really try out the kinds of things that I can come up with. I usually gravitate towards small spaces. Like most of my clients are people working in small spaces anyway, and I like the challenge and the creativity of them, and this just scaled it
Kind of
down
the
a little
ultimate.
further. Yeah, not the ultimate. At RTR, I met the guy living in the Toyota Yaris. I'm like, okay, that's probably territory I'm not going to try to get into. But
Or the Prius. I mean, that's pretty small too.
Exactly.
But yeah, those guys, those are the winners.
Yeah, I felt massive by comparison. But up until then, I felt pretty scaled down.
Yeah, right. It's all relative.
Exactly.
Well, you can always, we almost have a reverse snobbery because I'm smaller than the Class Cs, but then I think, well, you're smaller than I am, and the Yaris is smaller than all of us. And I have a friend who lives on a bike and has for like 5 years, and he's smaller than all of us. But then I know a guy who lives in a cave, and I think, okay, he wins.
Yeah, right there you
You
go.
live in a cave or in a backpack, you win. I bow down.
Yeah, no machinery involved. But yeah, I don't think I could do that.
No, I don't think I could do
it. Wouldn't suit me.
I couldn't do any of those things, but that's all right. If I'm doing what I can and you're doing what you can, and the guy in the Yaris is doing what he can, great for all of us.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I think once you scale back to a certain point, like there's varying degrees, but you've already cut like your ecological footprint and all of that
Yes.
so much just by reducing that huge amount of
Yes.
overhead, that from there it's degrees of refinement more than
Right.
any big scale difference.
Absolutely, that's exactly how I look at it too.
Hmm.
Yeah, even Class C, Class A. I mean, it's still a huge improvement over living in a house for
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the environment.
Yeah. And mostly, I mean, I love being in the van. The only thing I really miss is having a place to work, like having a studio to work on bigger projects in. And yeah, someday maybe I'll have that somewhere. And
Right.
yeah.
Well, an option would be towing a cargo trailer that became your office. Because if you're happy in the van, towing a small cargo trailer that became an office would be really a solution.
And that
Create
is-
a lot of new problems.
Yeah, exactly. Everything has what
Right.
has what it has, and what happens in the future, I don't know yet. One of the beautiful things is just kind of settling into being more in the present moment, which we who are on some kind of spiritual path, we aspire to that, to really cultivate that. And I think getting out of a certain amount of overhead that puts kind of a trajectory on your life, like the next day I know where I will be, and the day after that I know where I will be. Like taking that away, now each time I decide where to be, it's from a really wide range of choices. So I really have to get present with, okay, where do I actually want to be right now? Or where does it serve me, I should say. Sometimes I have a need to be somewhere, and that's fine, but still being present with what's current there.
Right. Right. Yeah, I agree. That's very much my thinking as well. Yeah. Very, very Zen attitude towards life and
Yeah.
living in the moment, going with the flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a big element of my life.
One of the practices that I've developed since I've been in my van is I clean my space and I put my stuff away every morning and every evening. And I didn't used to be as careful about that when I had a house. There were more places that you could hide stuff. And here there's no place to hide it. And I've noticed how much more I like the space that I'm in when I do that. And so in and of itself, it's become kind of a practice, as regular as meditation or something, to just, okay, everything's back where it belongs. And it's good for my soul because I feel uncomfortable when I'm looking at too much of my stuff. And but it's also just a good practice, because if I stop that, it takes like 10 minutes for it to just turn into chaos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think everyone out there can agree to that.
Yeah, but it's been really good to just have that as like a new practice. Just okay, morning, evening. Did I clean up? Nope. Okay, I'm not done.
Right. Very, very good. Yeah. And everything has a home, and it goes into the home, and the next day you wake up to a gorgeous place.
Yeah, exactly. I wake up and I still like it.
Yeah. As opposed to, oh no.
Exactly. Here again. Oh no, what happened?
That's a feeling you don't want to have.
Exactly.
Right.
Especially not in a small space like that, because you can't get away from it then.
No.
You know, like in my house, I had like my work area, and that was kind of a mess, but I had my living area, and that I would keep clean. And here, there's no separation.
Mm-hmm.
It's 40 square feet, and that's it. And so, yeah, it has to all be one.
Right. Okay, Gavio, thank you very much for telling us and sharing your life with us. And folks, now what we'll do is we'll end this video and then we'll go on and take a tour, because he's got some really brilliant ideas. In fact, you'll notice that he has a pop top on it. And I'll do that as a separate video so it doesn't get lost in all this other conversation. We'll do a separate video on how he installed his pop top. And that'll be coming up. But for now, I'll end this interview and we'll go and then we'll start the tour. So be sure and check that out for lots of really brilliant ideas. And thanks, Gavio, for sharing your life with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So is there any way people can get hold of you if they want to?
Yeah, you can visit my website at livebetterbydesign.com. And there's an email address on there. It's gavio@livebetterbydesign.com. So yeah, if you see what you like and you want to get in touch with me, that's how to find me.
One thing I get all the time is people looking for help designing and particularly building their rig. Is that something you might move into?
Yeah, I think so. For me, it's not a whole lot different than the design I was doing. I've consulted with people on tiny homes, people in trailers, people in just all different kinds of small spaces. And this is the 5th van I've built myself. So yeah, I feel like I'm well equipped for that, and yeah, I'd love to help out.
So folks, in the future, if you're interested in that, you've got the contact now, and feel free to contact him and see if there's anything that you can do for each other.
Yeah, there will be a way on my website that you can ask questions and whatever. There will be a whole thing there.
So I'll end this video, and we'll if you got anything out of it, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you later.